Three truths the desert holds about the Crysknife. One cuts deeper than sandworm blood. One cuts Atreides deeper than drinks the sandworm blood of life. Lady Jessica grips the gom jabbar while a Fremen initiate parts his tongue, the blade's edge gleaming with ancestral tooth. The gleaming with festival of the ancestral dead tooth masks a pact. Every name shed in ritual is a thread in the Bene Gesserit loom. Crysknife's first draw was not Lady Liberation. Jessica grips the gom jabbar while a Fremen initiate parts his tongue, the Emperor's blade's edge spine. What if the blade that redefined Fremen identity was a genealogical snare? The name-changing right blood on the Crysknife did not sever ties but forged them. Each kill a signature, each death a data point. The Missionaria Protectiva's prayers were not for salvation, but for control. How many revolutions are just threads in a preordained tapestry? How many free wills merely folded into a greater design? The Crysknife's edge was honed in shadow. Bene Gesserit chapter houses whispered to Fremen saiches, their voices cloaked as mentors. A blade of sandworm tooth, its ritual gleamed with holy purpose. Yet beneath the name-changing rite, a gene thread coiled. Paul's bloodline shaped by hands that called themselves guides. The sandtrout's cyclolife devoured, life reborn became a cipher. Arrakis' faith, a mask for genetic calculus. How many generations paid the price of a future not their own? The Bene Gesserit plan stretched beyond empires, beyond spice. It wove the spacing guild's rise, the Imperium's bones. Every Fremen oath a stitch in the tapestry, every sacred scar a lock on a door they did not know was open. The Tlalexu would later call it a failure. They did not see the axolotl tanks filling, one drop at a time. The Crysknife did not cut chains, it forged them, and the desert, vast and silent, bore witness. What weapon is both key and cage? What godhood a borrowed breath? The blade that severed a name also carved a map. Bene Gesserit whispers turned Fremen rites into genealogical chains. A single drop of blood, kissed by the Crysknife's edge, etched Paul's destiny into their ancient ledger. What seemed a birth of legend was a theft of sovereignty. The Missionaria Protectiva's prayers, woven into desert myths, had prepared this momenta puppet's string disguised as a prophet's sign. No Fremen knew their gods were Bene Gesserit architects, their wars rehearsals for a script written in spice-darkened halls. The heretics of Dune left questions unburied. Here in the knife's hush, answers fester. A people who saw liberation in the Crysknife's gleam failed to taste the poison in its steel. The Bene Gesserit did not rule through swords or thrones. They threaded power through sacred oaths that bound without binding. Paul's blood, once a storm, became a cipher. The Imperium's future did not rise from the sand it was folded into it, a letter sealed with Fremen faith and Bene Gesserit cunning. What god, after all, demands a child as tribute? What empire needs no conqueror, only a willing heir? The Crysknife's edge cut deeper than flesh. Each name it carved into a Fremen's palm was a chain. The Bene Gesserit's Missionaria Protectiva had woven myths to trap a people in their own prophecy. Warlords who raised the blade against Harkonnen chains became architects of a quieter bondage. Paul Atreides, crowned in blood, believed his jihad freed the stars. Yet his children's fates were etched in the same sand as his father's. What god demands a messiah only to strangle his seed? The name-changing ritual, sacred to the Fremen, was a cipher. The Crysknife did not grant identity, it stole it. Bene Gesserit's sisters, patient as tides, had selected Paul's lineage for centuries. His rage, his love, his vision saw funneled to Leto Roman II, who would drink the wine of his own brother's bones. The famine time was no tyranny. It was a scar carved into history to make the universe forget the cost of survival. Leto Roman II walked as a god-killer, his twin blades harvesting both flesh and memory. He bore the weight of the Golden Path, a road paved with the ashes of his ancestors. The Fremen who once chanted his name in the deeps of Arrakis knew not that their liberator was their last king. Their blood, their faith, their very names all folded into a pact written in the silence between stars. What remains when a people's soul is a weapon? The Crysknife sleeps now, but its shadow cut still. Each name carved a chain, Bene Gesserit prescience, a cage of seen futures, the Crysknife's ritual a veil for Paul's bloodline. They called it sacred, they called it liberation. What price a destiny not chosen? The Crysknife's blade cut more than flesh. Each name surrendered in its ritual became a thread in a tapestry the Fremen could not see. Bene Gesserit scholars had long studied the power of belief, how faith could be folded into DNA, how devotion could be a leash. The Fremen called it rebirth, the Bene Gesserit called it accounting. The Orange Catholic Bible's first commandment asterisk, "Thou shalt not create a machine in the likeness of a human mind" asterisk, was born from fire. The Butlerian jihad's ash still smoldered in its letters, yet here in the dust of Arrakis another jihad unfolded, not against thinking machines. Against free will. Paul's bloodline was never his to shape. The Bene Gesserit wove a net to snare his descendants, their prescience not a gift but a cage. They saw the storm before it broke, they saw the emperor who would kneel to a god. And so they dressed their chains in holy rite. What does a people become when their salvation is a script? The Fremen's hymns mask the Bene Gesserit's true creed. Religion is the scaffolding of empire. Every Crysknife ritual was a silent pact. A name given, a future claimed. Dread curls in the air like static. The Fremen burned their gods. The Bene Gesserit built new ones, and Paul, golden and terrible, walked the line between Messiah and Pawn. What price a destiny not chosen? The answer hums in every prayer whispered over the knife. The blade sleeps in ash, but its shadow cuts deeper. Bene Gesserit archivists trace the ritual's DNA through Fremen blood, each name change a thread in Paul's cursed tapestry. They watch the festival of the dead with surgeon's eyeshow, the knife's edge binds lineage, how grief masks design. No Fremen knows their ancestors were not liberators, but gardeners. The Bene Gesserit's war against the honored matters needs not swords, but seeds. Paul's sons, his daughters, their genes honed to dismantle empires. The desert wind carries whispers of betrayal, yet the right endures, sacred and blind. A girl kneels at the knife's hilt, her new name a cipher only the sisterhood can decode. What becomes of a weapon when its purpose is forgotten? It becomes a wound that never scars. The Imperium's downfall blooms in the dark, watered by prayers no one understands. The blade's edge holds a name. The Fremen shed their old selves, blood on sand, unaware the right was a cipher. 1,000 generations of careful threading lineage spun into a noose. The Bene Gesserit wove their plan through every whispered prayer, every star chart etched by guild navigators. They did not rule the Imperium. They asterisk-shaped it. What becomes of a weapon blessed to free a people, when its hilt is laced with the DNA of its masters? Paul's blood, the Kwisatz Haderach's promise, a puppet string pulled taut across centuries. The honored matters rose from the dust, not as saviors, but as reckoning. Their fury was a mirror cracking the Bene Gesserit's claim to divine purpose. Does the Crysknife cut chains or carve them? And what was reflects never meant to be no held triumph, only the weight of a pact sealed in silence. It's stolen, and what was reflects never meant to be no held. The Orange Catholic Bible's anti-AI commandment, born of Butlerian jihad, became a Bene Gesserit weapon. The Crysknife's name-taking rituala, Fremen rite masked lineage manipulation. Paul's bloodline was coded in every strike, a sacred blade, a silent architect of empire.